This is talk is on inclusive COVID-19 dashboard with automatic face detection. We'll come each of these terms separately. That by inclusive we mean that the final COVID-19 dashboard will be accessible by people with a different range of abilities. And automatic face detection is automatically dividing the spread of the disease into multiple phases using a mathematical formula, not too complex formula, but rather easy formula. So I will not spend time on the track record as Professor Chakraborty already kindly introduced me, but just in the context, I will mention that in parallel to my research, my main stream of research is accessible computing or inclusive design, whatever can be termed. And during my postdoctoral work, rather, I got involved with Jaguar Land Rover or British Aerospace Systems, and still now in our lab we work on automotive user interface or aviation interface, but still almost all of my students and staff somehow they contribute towards accessible computing, and I also took part in various standardization activities to promote accessibility, mostly in audiovisual media. And yeah, in our lab, I term it I3D lab. Again, the I3D stand for Intelligent Inclusive Interaction Design Lab, and we mainly focus on using standard artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques to make interaction both intelligent as well as inclusive. And by inclusive, we do not only mean for people with a particular type of impairment, like something for blind, something for disabled or spastic, not like that, but we try to also look at interaction issues when so-called able-bodied users, they are situationally impaired, or someone who is not disabled but just due to age some of his range of abilities has changed, how we can make user interface usable by this varied range of users in their different context of use. And this COVID-19 dashboard development is also following similar trend, that how we can make it inclusive. So moving forward, today I am going to talk about, first I will introduce the field of information visualization. Again, we will not go into a lot of background theory, but just I will show you some historical example and the main aim of information visualization. Then we will look at some existing COVID-19 visualization, and these pictures are taken from various sources like web resource, even newspaper report, because this is a very new state of affair, and we do not have a lot of peer-reviewed publications. So we widen our literature survey, including press releases and different websites and so on. We look at the existing problem and proposed approach, and then the automatic face detection. I will spend a few slides on the math, and I have some animation. I think you will find the math very easy to comprehend. And then I have a slide on the data source, and then on the deployment. And finally, I have 6-7 slides on different examples or use cases of this whole system, followed by demonstration. So information visualization, this is a quite old field, and as we'll see in the next slide, that it need not to be always electronic. Even non-electronic information visualization already found a lot of applications. And the main problems, we look at the huge data sets, how to understand them, how we can take better advantage of human perceptual system, because we have a certain or limited angle of field of view, and our eyes also have a specific resolution, and our eye has, as you already went through ergonomics courses, you already know that our eye works like a variable resolution camera. We have different resolution at different area of our retina, with the highest resolution at the macula, and also we have different resolution for different colors of light. And how we can better leverage this human perceptual system, we can convert information into graphical representation, and how we to convert abstract information to graphical form. like those. So these are some interesting visual examples of visualizations, again from non-electronic era, and any standard lecture on information visualization you may find these examples. So the left one is one visualization of cholera outbreak of cholera outbreak in London around early 16th century, so far I remember. And Dr. John Snow, that time I don't think Leeuwenhoek already made his microscope, and the existence of bacteria was not known so far I remember. And no one knows that how to stop the spread of cholera, very similar to the present situation. So Dr. John Snow, he did a very low-tech solution. So he took a big map of London, and wherever there was a cholera death or outbreak, he put a pin onto that. And then he found the pins are clustering around the well or water source. And from that, he inferred that cholera is a waterborne disease. And he stopped sharing water where there is too much infection, and the spread gradually stopped. Again, using a very low-tech technology of a paper map and pins. The right-hand side figure, this is showing Napoleon's Russia adventure, which was partly also being followed in much later on during Second World War by Germans. And here, this thickness of the line is showing the number of troops. And as you can see, as they proceed towards Russia, this spread is gradually decreasing, showing the number of people is decreasing. And then we have a thin black line coming back, which is proportional. Again, the thickness is proportional to the number of soldiers returning. And from this single visualization, I think it's very obvious that what happened in the war. We do not need not to explain it in further detail. The lower picture is a very interesting picture. So many of us, we already heard about Halley's comet, which returned every 76 years. But Halley does have some very interesting other contribution also. So on his earliest age, Halley was very much influenced by the star map, and he went to the southern hemisphere to make a star map of the southern hemisphere. And during that time, he prepared a visualization of trade wind, and which is still followed in many meteorological map. And you may be interested to know that the Edmund Halley, who actually funded and published the Principia Mathematica, and also he influenced Isaac Newton to derive those formula, which explains his own observation of planets and stars and comets on sky. So this is one snapshot of this Halley's original visualization of trade wind, which is still followed. So these are some again example that how visualization can influence, or how can a single visualization can tell a story. And we'll see that how we are doing with our COVID-19 dashboard regarding that. So a bit of context of our or the present status of the COVID-19 spread. So I think all of us are very much well aware that the state of spread, that is in Western Europe already, it is being told that a second wave has come, maybe in some part of USA also. In India, there is debate whether the first wave has already ended or when the second wave can come. And of course, everyone is concerned about the policy for stopping spread. There are many competing theories like enforcement of lockdown, economic slowdown, and like any policy making, there are many trade-offs people has to take care of. And then there are many concerns about the effect of the virus in different geographic regions, because in many countries, like for in India, the death per billion population is less than Western world, and that is further less in Africa. So there are many competing theories about both the effect of the disease for people in different ethnicity and different geographic region, as well as the way data has been recorded. Future planning, of course, that what is going to happen in immediate future, in far future, maybe after administration of the vaccine. And of course, many rumors and conspiracy theories are going on, and many times like For common people, it's also sometimes it's scary. Sometimes we do not know whether there is any truth in it, whether it will turn truth or not. So, and we are living with that maybe for the last 6-7 months. So in this context, we took our humble approach to uh, help in disseminating information about the COVID-19 spread. And first we had looked at literature. So this is a very simple visualization taken from the Wikipedia page. And here, as you see, the red lines are showing the number of active cases. Slightly old picture. It's ended around 23rd April. And then the number of recoveries and number of deaths all are shown in the same graph. And as you can see that as we went along this number of deaths, it start increasing. And there is another representation of this using a line graph. And again, in most cases, this line graph becomes more and more steep and more exponential. And as we know from there that if I have an asymptotic curve, it's difficult to make any prediction on that because it tends to be parallel to the y-axis. And just by looking at it, it only shows a grim picture that its number is increasing, but it doesn't say much about the underlying story that how much it is increasing. So this is another visualization used in a WHO website and in Microsoft websites. Here, it is also showing the spatial information. In the previous visualization, we need separate line and bar graphs for each city, district, state, country, like that. But in these cases, this is showing the whole world, and the radius of the circle is proportional to the number of cases. And it also, by clustering through the cluster of the cases, we can see where the disease is clustering. But again, in a single place, I cannot show all these circles, and we have to interact with it, zooming in and out to get these circles. And if the circles, again, the constant by which I am multiplying the radius with the circle, that is also difficult because in many, the disease actually spread in very different way. Like in, say, if you remember, in late March, early April, the total number of cases were quite high in Europe and quite less in India. But that doesn't mean that India is not under any threat. As we saw, within a couple of months, the story changed. And again, now it is, we do not know really that where we are heading. So if I do not have a circle, let's say like in this picture, you cannot see any circle, almost only one circle in India somewhere here, but no circle in the southern India. But we all know now that this is not the best representation, because later on Mumbai turns out to be a very much affected region. So again, the visualization technique may undermine the effect of the disease. This right-hand side graph we took from a newspaper, and it shows that then early days, the disease actually, the spread stopped nicely in New Zealand. And the yellow column graph is showing the number of new cases, and the red curve is showing the percent change. And this annotation is showing different event like enforcement of lockdown. And from the single picture, they try to convince that how a lockdown actually helped in reducing the spread in New Zealand. And these are some more visualization techniques. So here there are many small graphs of different states and I think different countries, and we can highlight one or two curves which is showing the spread, and at the same time it is showing the relative position of the spread with respect to other countries and or other geographic regions. And same thing has been done here in a different way, that it is taking more real estate than this one, the left hand side curve. But here also you can see the number of new cases and it spread in a relative scale. But again, the problem is you can see here the line is almost flat due to the choice of the y-axis here. But perhaps if I use a different scaling factor for the y-axis, the graph nature of the curve will be very different in this case. And why it is important? Because as we already noted that within 15 to 20 days, the numbers can be doubled or tripled if no corrective action is taken. And the visualization should precaution people accordingly. like if there is a sudden steep, sudden increase in cases, that should be evident from the visualization. But if we scale the y-axis with respect to a big country, or where the disease is already spread too much, we may miss this trend. Now we will move to a different topic, that is what about the accessibility. So it has already been noted in many cases, maybe in the Fukushima nuclear plant disaster to many natural calamity, that the fatality rate is often higher for people with a different range of abilities, and in elderly populations there are many reasons, but one of the important reasons is many times they do not get access to information in correct time and in the correct format. So we try to make the system accessible, and we looked at the definitions of accessibility in different standardization organization. So here I am not reading out all the definitions. So some sources you can see from ISO documents, there is this 24756 standard, and also this 30071 standard proposed by the British Standardization Agents Institute. And they define accessibility. W3C specifically define accessibility with respect to web, and I was involved in various ITU work, and different ITU recommendations, they also define accessibility. Taking all together, we want to make the system, any system or service, usable and comprehensible to a wider range of or widest range of capabilities, as the ISO definition stage, and in different context of use. And it stays something like widest range of user needs, characteristics, and capabilities to achieve identified goals in identified context of use. But many of these definitions, many times it stays as a wish list, but in practice we perhaps cannot achieve the full definition, but we try to do that. So with respect to accessibility of COVID dashboard, so recently in the SCMC Access conferences, it's the assets conference, a few papers have been presented, mostly looking at the accessibility of COVID information for blind users or people having low vision, and also a set of COVID-19 related projects analyze the um, social networking or related messages, tweets, Facebook messages, and so on. And one such research also pointed out the major difficulty people with disability they are finding during the COVID outbreak, which I pointed out on the right hand side table. And what we noted that the existing problems combining both these visualization issues and accessibility is the range of data. Like in some countries, the total number of cases may be in the range of millions or thousands. In some countries, this is maybe hundreds or thousands. And putting all this data with respect to a single axis and comparing the trend is difficult. So many visualization, they took help from data transformation, like taking logarithmic of data, showing as a moving average, percentage change. But many times this transformation, if you are not aware of the transformation, you may not get the true story. Say, for example, from a logarithmic plot, even though the graph may look flat, but actually that is showing a tenfold or n-fold increase in number of cases based on the base of the logarithm. And proportional statistics like number of cases per million population many times undermine the effect of the pandemic in big countries like India or Brazil, because we have a very large population. But if we still look at the total number of cases per million population or total number of deaths per million population, perhaps India is standing quite down in the list. But that doesn't mean that the pandemic is over or we are not facing difficulty. That's why the proportional statistics may not always put the true picture, especially for bigger countries. And same thing, the other side of the story is true for smaller countries. and information overload, that putting too many information on a single graph, well, that may satisfy us. So if you look at many standard dashboard, maybe from many government agencies, that you will see all data for all wards in Bangalore, everything together in a single screen, but that is not much helpful, because your perceptual system may not be able to process all this information together. And the overall result is a difficulty in trend analysis, that what is actually happening. And of course, we also have accessibility issues, because presently we have too much difficulty even to visually represent the data, but then other representation of data for people with low vision, or even interaction with the data, because since we cannot visualize everything on the same screen, so we have to interact with data. These issues has not been too much investigated, that how people with, say, mobility impairment, or just people who has age related impairment, how they can interact with the data, how can they consume the information, and how they can make themselves alert at the appropriate time. So we used mathematics of automatic phase detection to reduce the problem of range of data. That means we divide the phase of disease in multiple linear segment. We will discuss it about it in the next few slides. We combine different types of graphs, and very well-known graphs like line graphs, column graphs, pie charts, which we use in our everyday life and doesn't need too much explanation. And we developed all these graphs by comparing statistics on daily basis, because we find that the cumulative or total number of cases is too much variable across different geographic region. And the daily case, or who are mathematically inclined, you can think about the first derivative has less variability than the cumulative statistics. So it's still easier to compare based on daily basis instead of the cumulative cases. And so far we plot raw numbers without any transformations, because we try to give people the notion that what is the true value of the numbers, and that also has some intrinsic difficulties that we'll see. And we developing a version, it is still not fully complete, in which we integrated automatic speech recognition, text to speech converter, and large icons. And also, based on our earlier research, we are trying to personalize it for people with different range of abilities, not only for visualization but also for interaction. So this is some example of these our graphs, and please do not worry if you cannot read it in the font size is too small for you, because I will go across all these graphs separately in the upcoming slides. So we did developed a comparative chart on the recent trends, and we developed a pie chart to compare the proportion of total number of cases and total number of deaths on a particular day across different geographic regions. And then we have a set of graphs to showing the different automatic phases of the spread. And also we worked on some radial graph. So this is not available online, but it can be generated offline. So we developed programs to automatically generate it at any particular point of time, which shows the progress and comparative statistics on the disease across different geographic region. And we got some media coverage in on the early days at Deccan Herald, and also at from Gates Cambridge Trust. So let us look at the theory behind automatic phase detection. So we took help from some previous papers, and this automatic phase detection, we use it in multiple domains. So one is like in optimization problems, to say, for example, finding the optimal K in a K-means algorithm, or in many machine learning problems, we took help from a curve called ROC curve, or receiver operator characteristic curve. So old days, this type of ROC curve is being used for parameter tuning. So this curve looks like the blue curve, as you can see in the picture, like a logarithm curve. Still now in machine learning domain, when we plot F1 score, which combines the precision and recall of a machine learning system or an information retrieval system, And then we, since there is a trade-off between precision and recall, or the trade-off between type 1 and type 2 error, in if you think about the machine learning context, that we try to tune parameter, at which case there is the change in the objective function, like F1 score is minimal. There is not much change after we change the value. And similarly, when we decide the number of iterations in a, say, supervised learning problem, again we take the similar example, so that we stop the learning at a point where the objective function or the error function is not changing too much, so that we do not overfit to the problem. So this type of knee detection we use in many different domains. So here are just two papers. One we used in a study in the context of people with dyslexia, and a paper we took help from. And there must be multiple ways of detecting knee. So we used a very simple way. That means, say, this is the nature of the curve, and I am not demanding that this algorithm will work for any arbitrary shaped curve, but we worked on it only type of curve which is representative of the cumulative number of phases. That means the numbers, if I use the technical term, that the numbers are monotonically increasing. That means the total number of cases, those are monotonically increasing in any case. So that type of curve. So what we did, that we draw a vector PQ from the endpoints of the curve, and then we calculate projection of all points from the curve on this PQ vector. So like this. So this is the projections. And then we calculate the distance of this, and the biggest distance among these points is as the knee point, like this point in the curve. So if you think this is the showing the total number of cumulative cases of Bangalore starting from 26th April and ending very recent time. And based on our algorithm, we detected two knees at July 13th and then August 24th. And we can do any number of phases based on the nature of the graph, of course. So here the total spread of India, we divided into 6 phases. And you can see that even though we run it to the cumulative or total number of cases, but how the average number of cases changes. So from January 30 to April 11, the average number of cases was 117. Then till mid-May, it increased to 2,400. Then May 18 to mid-June, it was 8,000. Then June to July, it became 21,000 new cases per day. July, August, it becomes 51,000. And August 18 to November 18, it becomes 70,000. And then here in this curve, you can see some sort of flattening of the curve compared to if you compare the slope. And also please note the y-axis values here. So this is one reason of doing automatic phase detection, that if I plot this curve in here with this axis, you can only see a straight line. Or if I plot this curve in with respect to this y-axis, I will just get a straight line parallel to the x-axis. But by automatically dividing, I can got the piecewise linear component of the exponential curve. So this is our data source, that for the world statistics, we are using a GitHub source, which is maintained by Johns Hopkins University. We do not have any control on the accuracy of the data source, and that can be considered as one of the disadvantage of our system, that we do not ourselves maintain the data source, rather we use third-party data source. But then most of the existing statistics, I think they are doing so. And for the India API, again, we have a GitHub source, and they do not disclose their exact sources, rather it's written in the website that from trusted sources. But time to time, we compare our raw statistics with the Worldometer and Wikipedia statistics, and also the Ministry of Health statistics. And this is not very different. Like our all our API got updated at GMT 00 hours, while the many Indian statistics, they got updated at the Indian 00 hours. So maybe for a few hours, there is a discrepancy, but for most part of the date, there is not much discrepancy. And we developed the system. So on the early stage, there were many apps, and we found that there are so many apps that even my own smartphone memory was also full in terms of downloading all these apps. So we rather developed a system which is web based, and we also tested the system on most smartphones. So to require any downloading, it's platform independent. So we checked it in Android platform and Windows, Apple, Mac, etc. All platform. It's browser based, and it's no installation required. The whole technology is developed using HTML, JavaScript, and in particular D3 graphics library has been used to generate all this graph, and it has a responsive design. And the development was distributed. So the main developer is Kamalpreet Singh Saluja. He is based in near a suburb in Indore, not exactly in Indore. So he mostly did the coding, and the map interface or the map selection was implemented by Somnath, who is now in Silchar in Assam. And I developed some portion of the line graphs that we are going to explain. And then Raghu, who is presently in Tirupati, he developed the automatic speech recognition and TTS part. And then Gautam, Vinay, they developed some Python programs for generating the radial graphs. And none of them visited Bangalore, so it is completely remotely integrated. So all they sent their codes to me, and me, Kamal, we do some sort of integration, and then I uploaded all code in my personal web space, which also have a rapid SSL security certificate. And this way we have continued the development. We didn't get any funding from any sources, and whatever we develop, it's us, and similarly all the opinions is also of us. So we tested it in multiple browsers, platforms, and devices, and it's deployed in my personal web space, as I just mentioned. So next I will show you some of the applications of the system, and many of these graphs. So I kept on generating these graphs from I think mid-April onwards. So some of the graphs are backdated. So please do not consider them for any inference, but rather I am using them as examples that what can be generated from this graph. And secondly, the system wants to show you interactive graphs. So it is not meant for developing a nice picture and putting it somewhere. Rather, it's meant for generating interactive statistics, information, or display information to users. So this is one particular trend analysis of Bangalore, and I think it was on 31st of up to 31st of July. And here you can see a up and down pattern. That means the blue portion is cases going up, and for 3-4 days the cases going down. And this pattern you can notice from mid June to late July is up and down pattern. And a similar pattern is observed in again many countries also. Presently also, if you look at European map, you can see this up and down pattern. Again, we cannot infer anything from the software itself that why it is happening. There may be many different explanation in terms of recording of cases, in terms of kind of updating database, or it may be something, the nature of the spread is like that, that it is increasing and decreasing, that we cannot infer. But we can see that there is this up and down flow of the disease, and then we can also see the overall trend of increasing here, and here it is kind of flat in this case. And these durations, that why between from say 26 June to mid July, this duration is automatically detected using the face detection algorithm that I discussed earlier. So here you can clearly visualize the second wave in Japan. So here you can see the blue line depicts the number of new cases per day, and here in mid-July to so from late May to early June, you can see a decreasing trend, but then you can see again a increasing trend, and that is further increased in July. So similar trend of second phase or third phase, you can clearly can visualize using our analysis, and it's made on 27 July. This is a more detailed analysis, that here we make the trend analysis of India. Here the number of active cases, number of recoveries. Then we progressively make the analysis of Indian states, like the red color states we had analyzed, and this is the proportion of number of new cases and number of deaths on a particular day. And then we can go further detail into the district level, like analyzing or comparing Pune with Bangalore. That type of detailed analysis or drilling down a geographic region, that type of analysis is possible using our system. And I will also show you a demonstration to this effect. Then we can compare the lag across geographic regions, that how the disease is the spread is lagged in different geographic regions. So here we plotted the spread number of new cases and per day and number of deaths per day of India, and plotted it against the same with Spain, France, and United Kingdom. And here you can see again this up and down pattern in the number of deaths, and the bottom line is showing the Indian trend, and you can see it's so close to x-axis. It was done on 21st of May. So this graph is showing March to May statistics, and this is showing April to May statistics. And then gradually the number of cases in India started increasing. Also, although the number of deaths remains more or less same. And then we did the same analysis on 5th November. So here also you can see that the Indian cases are increasing, and then it is decreasing, while the European cases again started to hike. So this is the number of cases in France. And now again it has started to increase in Europe, while the Indian cases has dipping down to the European cluster. So like that, you can compare the statistics across multiple geographic region and check the lag in spread across different geographic regions. Next is how about comparing policy, that how we are tackling the device, how we are tackling the spread. So this is pretty still believe it or not, that this is very debatable, that many Westerners still claiming that the Indian statistics is not good enough. There is not much recording of active cases. So I really cannot help on that, because I am not in charge of keeping statistics. But what we can see here, that if we compare the number of active cases and recovery across India and USA, that this is the number of active cases in India, and this is the number of recoveries, and you can see the number of active cases in the US is higher, and still the number of active cases in the US is hiking, while the number of active cases in India is gradually going down. And also the number of recoveries in India has a much steeper slope than the US case. So even if we have some confusion here about whom to credit, whether to credit the Indian policy or whether to it's a result of Indian record keeping system. So the next graph can clear up this better. So this is a comparison of UK and Germany statistics in mid-May. And as you can see, the number of new cases in Germany was higher than UK, but the number of death was far lower in Germany. And then the number of new cases per death started to decrease in Germany, while it was quite still the number of death was quite high in UK. So in this case, you can clearly see that these two countries are of more or less similar size and located in similar geographic region. And also we cannot question about the record keeping or record management criteria in those two countries. We can rather consider it as comparable, but it clearly shows that how one country tackled the pandemic better than another country during this span from early March to late May, and maybe even now. And finally, this is a radial graph. So this is not available online. So this is only available we did offline analysis. So this is a representation in which we compare the recent past with present. That means if we move across clockwise direction, the number of new cases per day is increasing. And at any vertices, we can compare that what happened Italy maybe 1 month ago is presently happening in United Kingdom. Similarly, what happened in Canada 1 month before is presently happening in Singapore, and so on. So by this single graphical representation, we can find our peers, that which country presently is following the past of another country. And here it is not across country, but we can generate similar statistics for state and district level also. Though, so for example, we can see that the present state of Bangalore, it may be similar to XYZ city 1 month before. And if we are equipped with that information, we can perhaps that will help our policy making and prediction. So finally, we look at the accessibility aspect. So again, this is ongoing work. It's not yet complete. So we used automatic speech recognition for country selection and scrolling up and down. We use text-to-speech converter to read out statistics if someone cannot read the small font size. We use semi-transparent pop-up to read tooltip text of all these line graphs. And we selected the color combinations so that it can include red-green color blindness, which is the predominant type of color blindness, the protanopia, deuteranopia, and protanomalus and deuteranomallus type of color blindness, which is most common. And we also used big scroll buttons to help in scrolling up and down. We are still working on making keyboard shortcuts and more accessibility features. So with that, I will stop sharing for a while. India.
In India, as of 28 October, the total number of confirmed cases are 8,040,203. Number of recovered, 7,315,989. Number of deaths, 120,527.
Brazil.
In Brazil, as of 28 October, the total number of confirmed cases are 5,468,270. Number of recovered, 4,947,777. Number of deaths, 158,456. In India, as of 28 October, the total number of confirmed cases are 8,040,203, as on the 13th of October. Brazil has 10,220 new cases a day, and 309 deaths per day, as on the 13th of October. India has 63,509 new cases a day, and 730 deaths per day, as on the 14th of October. Brazil has 27,235 new cases a day, and 749 deaths per day, as on the 14th of October. India has 67,708 new cases a day, and 680 deaths per day, as on the 15th of October. Brazil has 28,523 new cases a day,